Well, you sure are a punctual motherfucker.
How's that, brother?
Welcome back.
Okay. Yeah.
Welcome back to the world.
Yeah.
I know you were off planet for a while there.
Yeah. Had to go up and visit old Derek and the boys, and man, I'm telling you what, overwhelming at times.
In what aspect?
Just all the information coming together and correlating with things, and just all the wow moments. You know, one of the biggest one is this legacy thing. This is what I want to go over in the meeting.
The wow moments, man, can be lots of different sensations, good and bad.
Well, no, I think most of them are good because I'm using the whole thing as a learning experience. It's like I explained to somebody earlier, I'm not going to worry about things anymore. If I have faith, then I have no fear. If I have fear, then I have no faith.
Right. Exactly.
But,
well, I followed along, although I wasn't there to witness it myself. But what was it like, man? Describe it. Describe the environment. Describe Derek.
Well, the environment was kind of hectic. It was, and of course, that's kind of expected when you're meeting new brothers for the first time, and you want to express to them more about your life than just the reason for coming together. If you've got all that time, you want to express other parts of your personal and private lives. Yeah. So it was a little bit of hot tubbing and going over the trip he's got and how that paperwork works, and child support, getting rid of child support, all kinds of things. And one of the biggest things was we come to the realization that we have to express the chain of title. We have to express that we comprehend where all of the powers and everything come from. And their issue right now is they're still stuck in the form, because they're going by all these legislative words and everything, and they're wanting to express it in paperwork, which is fine and dandy. And a lot of times, and even myself, I'm going to have to do it so I can turn around and express it in that form for other people so they can help relieve themselves the same way. Right. However, my form, I can literally, I honestly believe in myself. I have that confidence, and it is a confidence game. I believe that I can walk into any court in this world and produce the equity by word. Mm-hmm. I know the Bible well enough. I know how it works. I know where these points of equity are at, and how to express them without having to write anything down myself. And just that alone is because of the acquiescence. If I state something in equity and they acquiesce, that automatically, you've already invoked equity anyway, just by mentioning it. But if they acquiesce, that's proof in and on and for the record that they've already subjected themselves to that jurisdiction. So now you just move forward in equity by going above and beyond them. That's placing your claim, your fee schedule, and everything, executing judgment. It's the administrative procedure.
Wouldn't they call that rolling over?
Right. Well, yeah, it's the first man that leaves the battlefield loses. So when they make a presentment, this is how I believe I'm going to try to effectuate it. I'm going to get a constitution from the state constitution. I'm going to get a federal constitution. I'm going to have them authenticated. I'm going to place them into my trust as property. This is intangible property. It's the knowledge that they have acquiesced to their own very own use of the word posterity, which in itself means the legacy, the time span, the inheritance. things like that. And they can't deny that. It's in their own word. Now, in being uniform with the law being uniform throughout all jurisdiction, this corresponds directly to, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. You don't have to express anything legally, period. And the only realm that requires a legal expression is the legal world. They have to recognize equity, whether I write it down or not, because they've already written it down. All I have to do is know the points of reference. Excuse me, clarification, point of law. In reference to the equity concerns in the term being used before the court defendant, what is the equity in that? They can't answer it because there is none.
Right.
So they've already relieved any requirement, get this, any requirement of personal jurisdiction. He is a respecter of no persons. How dare you try to make me apply personal jurisdiction or subject matter jurisdiction related to personal jurisdiction and say that it applies to myself? How dare you? Let's be clear on that.
Corner their inequities with.
Yeah. See, the law cannot exist without equity. Equity, however, exists prior to law.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna bust this open in our talk here in Zoom in regards to the in beginning was Word and how people have applied the very term Word.
It's so simple. You just clear the equity. Just get it defined.
Right.
And all these derivations, man, and it just fucking opens up that world for you. Just boom. Yeah. It's cool. I mean,
let's see here. Trying to send out invites here before the meeting gets started. I don't know how many people responded to the post, but I posted a couple hours ago that we were going to get on. So hopefully we'll have a few of us.
They'll straggle in.
Well, I opened it for 2 hours, but I've got a subscription, so I can take it as long as we need to. But I figured 2 hours probably be good.
Yeah, we got 2 Joyces, Joyce and Joyce Schmidt. Hello, ladies.
Oh, yeah?
You can unmute if you want to talk before we get started here. If you want to chime in and say yo.
Yeah, she might be trying to get on 2 devices.
Ah, gotcha.
She's been having issues trying to figure out on her device how to open the chat window, and I don't know how to explain it to her.
You just click on the chat button down at the bottom and scroll your mouse down. It pops up and click on chat. I just did it.
Yeah, but it depends on what device you're coming in on. If you come in on a phone per se, their program is different because it's limited space on the phone.
Oh, that sucks.
So their if then go-to program's different.
But you just put it under the screen, you know, so you can just scroll down to it. Or can't you scroll back? You could just make it a separate page.
Yeah. I think. But I don't know how to express that to her.
Well, I would think they'd have the same menus available on the phone as on PCs. They're just, you have to locate them, and locating them is different.
Yeah.
Scroll up, scroll down, left
Yeah.
or right. Or there'll be little dots or little lines. You click on it, it'll have options. Drop down. Anyway,
Yeah. Every program is different depending on what device you're on.
yeah.
Say what?
I said, yeah, I got
Oh,
it.
okay.
Yo, Chip Rich.
What's up?
Man.
How's it going, brother?
How's the trucking going, man?
I ain't doing no truck. I do concrete work right now. I mean, I still got the TDLs and all, but I'm thinking about going back to that.
I remember you talking. I thought you were a trucker.
I'll use somebody looking for a trucker, you said?
I said, I heard you talking about trucking, driving a truck. I thought you were a trucker.
Well, I still got my CDLs whenever I want to use them.
Gotcha.
Over
the road.
Well, no, not over the. I like driving concrete trucks and dump trucks. I don't like being on the road being gone all the damn time.
You drive one of them big ass concrete.
Yeah, I have. I got more experience doing that than anything else.
That's handling some weight there, buddy. Shit.
Yeah, it is. It is.
You gotta be careful in that thing.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. It's, I've had people, man, pull in front of me and scare the hell out of me. I get mad, like, you son of a bitch, about killed your ass. You just don't know what to
You gotta have a good brakes on them damn things.
Hey, you know what, man? Just off the maybe a little bit of subject, but we're all on like things of banking and unlawfulness and this and that and other. My brother, he is fighting with this bank. He got a business loan here, maybe about a year ago. And the day he went to sign for that business loan, that guy, when he put that piece of paper up in front of him, and I had mentioned the UCC one, and we were just starting to learn about it a little bit. And when that guy pushed the UCC one financial statement up there in front of him, he was like, what was that UCC financial statement for? And of course, you know, a lot of us, he just saw dollar signs and he's like, well, hey, I need that money, you know what I'm saying? And then now that he's learned so much, he wrote him a letter. He did 49 or 450, I forgot the damn tax form. The something 4509A or something like that. I think I got one in the filing cabinet. And he's trying to, you know, see if he can be like, hey, some bitches, and then, you know, like I said, like Derek even talked about here a while back, and then sending it back to the IRS. Hey, look, you know, he's the one that's quicker at putting all the paperwork together and typing all the documents up. I'm doing everything from a damn phone, this, that, and other. But I'm hoping, man, he can beat this and you know, prove or you know, like I've been also talking about, like Eric's been talking about equity and this, that, and other. And I'm like, man, just retain this information and try to learn it. And he read a letter my brother read a letter that he said he sent to him, and he mentioned the word par value and this, that, and other. I was like, oh, that sounds good as hell, you know. But as we all know, there is no money. Everything's insolvent. And he's just worried about them trying to take everything. He bought 2 machines out of China, a CNC machine and a laser machine. He's not really had a chance to put them to work yet. And but like I said, they're going to try to foreclose on him and this, that, and other. But he's like, how some people try to say, you don't want to go to court. You don't want to go to court. He said, no, actually, I think I do want to court. He said, I think I'm ready. But anyways, that's kind of where me and him's at. And I just worry a little bit about him, this, that, and other. But anyways, that's all I kind of got.
All right.
Yeah, it's all a big bumblefuck, but we're gonna figure it out here real soon, I think.
Yeah. Hey,
Excuse my language, folks. My apologies, but
I seen you was up Derek's here a while back.
yep.
That's great, man. I was like, I think I clicked on your page and was just scrolling through. Sometimes I take a notion to click on somebody's name, go through their page and see what they've been doing. And
Yep.
I was like, look here, he's a bird Derek's.
Yeah.
I was like, cool.
Casey about ready
So
to
anyway, yeah, I'm ready to start. We're already recording, folks, just so you know. Anybody that wants to record, send me a request. I think
All right,
that's
brother.
the way we have to do it. I'm not sure. Let me see here. See, chat, everyone publicly and privately.
When you're ready, man, mute all. Go for it.
That's what I'm looking for.
You're on your laptop, yeah?
Yep.
I believe, I don't have that menu in front of me, but it's upper right-hand corner somewhere. Over the, over all the column of names. There's some check boxes next to them.
Oh, let's see.
Select,
Participants.
select
Participants. Got it.
the little microphones next to them.
Okay. Mute all.
There you go.
All right. Everybody should be muted. Okay. One of the amazing things in my life so far has always been spiritual awakenings. And like Chip said, me and Dave went up there to see a couple other brothers in the same fight, trying to do our due diligence to bring forth 2 or 3 witnesses. And when those 2 or 3 witnesses start getting together, and that testimony coincides and correlates, that's a big spiritual awakening in our realm today, trying to fight all this corruption, because little bits and pieces that each of us are missing here and there are starting to be filled in. And one of the main pieces I want to go over tonight is a simple thing known as legacy. And this goes in regards to being able to express your trust. We're going to talk about how do you express your trust and what that trust is, the form of the expression, all kinds of things. It says it is a common perspective that, and this is just my opinion, but I believe it's a pretty wide common perspective, that being reborn, a man is given a new name. Even he knows it not until his father calls it out to him. He's at my side, and thus there's no need to call out to me. So I only hear other people calling out a name. He will do so when it is time. Until then, it is my will to be called El Hotep Secondly Pero. If no one objects, then let my yea be my yea and my nay be my nay. He guides me, he protects me, I shall not waver. This is clear and concise, and I don't think anybody can object to it. You can try, you can pose it, you can propose it, you can recite it, you can cite it, but you'll have to prove where that citing comes from. And that's what we're talking about, is in beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. This is the only way you can come into equity. This is the only way you can bring equity. And so when we talk about, I said this is going to be a recap of a Facebook video I did a few days ago in regards to explaining what a full title is, what the equitable title is, and what the legal title is. And it starts out with the full title means, and this is the part that confuses me, because we're not supposed to mix. We're not supposed to commingle. And I assure you, if the legal system is the undoing of God's law, wherein resides the equity alone without legislated law, wherein by the legislated law is dependent upon equity, elsewise it's not law. Period. So when we talk about this legal title, where does it come into play? Well, first we started out with full title. And full title is supposedly equitable title and legal title. So we know legal title comes last. It's the lowest jurisdiction. So what about full title and equitable title? Which of those comes first? Why is it full equitable or full title, and that includes equitable and legal title, because full title is also a legal term. I don't even need equitable title. I just require equity. It gets no simpler than that. But to explain that requirement of equity, I must prove this supposed chain of legal title. Well, what is legal title as opposed to legacy, or legal title? My legacy needs no written document known as a legal title, whether it be a document, certificate, instrument, nothing. Debt, ledger, I care not. In the beginning was Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So let's talk about the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which leaves out the entire realm of legalities. Period. I am not talking about a title. I am talking about a legacy, and you have no right to try to bifurcate it and then hypothecate it and expect me to continue believing it under your oppression of public education, indoctrination, propaganda. Your public education doesn't even tell truths. It tells facts based upon history. And when we talk about history, we're actually, in fact, talking about legacy. And when we talk about legacy, we're talking about equity. So if your history isn't explaining the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, it is not fact at all. It is false, which is synonymous with fiction, which is synonymous with fraud. Don't care for it. That's why there is a respecter of no persons. You live as a live tenant of his will, and nothing is supposed to be able to destroy that. Well, why not? Well, let me explain with the conversation I had with a sister of ours, Trey Bine. She's a wonderful gal. If anybody can send a invite out to her for me real quick so I don't get interrupted here, I'd appreciate it. Trey Bine, Trebein. But we discussed this here a while back. And when it comes down to the power within us, we always talk about ye are gods and you're created in his likeness and image. And this is the fact of legacy. And it comes from the 4 elements. What are the 4 elements? Earth, wind, water, and fire. We know what the earth is. That's the land. We know what the air is, the wind and air. We know what the water is, seas, rivers, all that. Land, air, and water. Where does the fire come from, guys? Does anybody know where that fire comes from?
Friction.
Where?
Friction.
Yeah, you could say that. I'll agree with that. Because the fire comes from the seed. And the seed of the fire itself, spiritually, is God himself, the divine source. Friction is the movement of one body against another, and that correlates to the exchange or disposition of electrons, ionization, breakdown of chemicals, and building up of structures of other chemical bodies. The zygote of the Spirit of God comes from man himself. He is the seed. He passes his seed through a frictional movement with a woman. Okay? He passes his seed to that woman. He is inspired to have that friction. She is inspired to have that friction. It's all in spirit. Nobody told him to do it. It was a feeling. And that's the Spirit of God. He wants us to go forth and co-create. Ye are gods. And just like him, he wants you to co-create through procreation. What is pro? Forward. And most people think of it as forward, as in the next day. And this is expressed in the two different versions of the Lord's Prayer. You have one that says, give us our bread, our daily bread. Give us this day our daily bread. The other one says, give us day by day our daily bread. That version speaks specifically to the legacy and not the selfish content of the one day that we are living now, but that our intent is to move forward in that legacy. So please, Father, feed us this day, or feed us day by day our daily bread, so we can pass on the use to our next generation so they too may be fed. What is it we are feeding them? Everybody thinks it's about the sacraments, the herbs, the spices, the foods, the waters, the blood and the bread of man. No, it's the knowledge. And what happens when you show people knowledge? It burns their ass. And therefore is the fourth element, fire. Fire is the Spirit of God. And where does it reside? The fifth element, right here. Now, if you can't express that trust without the need of paper, then I beg you to keep gaining knowledge. Ignorance is a want for knowledge. I appreciate my ignorance. It shows me my want. It shows me that I'm walking in that way to be perfect and acknowledging that I am not. Acknowledging my mistakes, my mistakes. Take scene 223. Let's do it again. Once I'm knocked down, I'm going to get right back up. It was a mistake. I'm going to learn from my mistakes. That's part of knowledge. And like I said, if you can't express this stuff because you're afraid, it's because you have no faith. If you have faith, you can't have fear. If you have fear, you can't have faith. If you have equity, you have law. If you're at law, you can't have law. You have to be in law. You have to be in equity. You have to come forth with equity in order to receive equity. This entire legal system comes with the intent of seeking economic substance, financial gain. It's called lucrative. Lucrative often describes somebody that's in lunacy. So yeah, I question their competence now. I highly question their competence now. I've expressed my trust. I express it constantly. And what form do I express it in? See, when we express the trust, it's known that the trust doesn't need to stand by a form. It needs to stand by the substance. And the substance is the intent. So I say, in beginning was Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And so in truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Actions speak louder than words. Actions that create that friction. Actions that verbalize, even if they are only vocalized.
because I can verbalize them both by writing, which is a physical action, and I can follow that physical under duress. Let my yea be my yea and my nay be my nay. How dare you force me to write it? How dare you try to force me to conform to some kind of signature, autograph, print, point, seal, mark? He's already marked me with abundance. Bund, original from Persian, originally from Hindi, band, originally from Urdu, band. Where does all that come from? That comes from the time of Babylonia. See, and as we talk about, history repeats itself because it can't explain the truth, which is ever constantly changing. It has to refer to something else again. It repeats itself, and they call it babbling. I think it's more like stuttering. Are you competent? I mean, you say the same shit over and over again, like Little Rabbit did, Eminem. You're saying the same shit he said. Tell him something new about me. You can't. I already told you the truth. The whole truth and nothing but the truth. How dare you question me? You deny me, you deny him. You deny him, he'll deny you. Hosea 4, verse 6. My people shall perish for lack of knowledge. And if they can't express that knowledge to their heirs, to their legacy, if they can't pass on the use and possession of that knowledge without form, but purely by substance, then who the fuck are you? Excuse my language. But I'm just trying to express my point. My trust is in him. Guess where his trust lies? Like I said, that legacy. Guess what, brothers and sisters? That trust automatically lies in you. I trust that you have knowledge. If you don't have it, I accept your ignorance, the want for knowledge, and I freely give what was given freely. I will express that knowledge. It is up to you from that point on. I'm not going to fight about it. I'm not going to argue about it. I'm not going to be belligerent. I'm going to express it constantly, consistently, continuously, for complete closure from my being born to my being reborn to my being at my Father's side, returning back to that which I came. I came from the dust, I'll return to the dust. I came from his legacy, I am in his legacy, I will return in that legacy, just as Jesus will return. That is the realization of being reborn itself, and learning how to walk like Jesus, and being able to hear that message finally and effectuate it in every manner of form that you can learn. So when we realize that this legal system is wanting us to write it down, we need to get back. Like I said, we got into a discussion while I was up there at Derek's, and a guy was on a call, and we got into talking about etymology. And when we talk about etymology, most of us, like myself, I like referring to the Latin roots of our etymological origins, because in that sense, we can clearly comprehend how much further twisted the English language is from there. But if we go antecedent to that even, then when we're talking about the Hebrew and Arabic languages, Okay, and this is where I'm going to bust even that when it comes to expression. Because I guarantee you, not in one cave painting have I ever seen any reference to Arabic or Hebrew, yet they still expressed it inherently. Even they knew spiritually that the fire was with them, nothing else. That's how they learned to capture that fire. They kept looking and they kept passing that knowledge on in any way they could. They created a form. So who created this written language? Huh? Greeks? Romans? Hebrew? Arabic? Phoenicians? Who? I say cavemen, if you want to talk about that kind of literal expression. But then again, when you talk about literal expressions like that, that's just an abstract form, right? So what about when they learned to express themselves through calling the wild animals closer so they had a better shot at them? Didn't they use that vocalization against that animal? Just like the system is using the words against us today? Isn't that the perfect reason to get back to the roots? What is the legacy of that? What is the root of that legacy? Are you bound to a certain form of expression? Do you comprehend what the word is? The word is any form of expression. The word is the spirit within you. And it's only conveyed as a word because somebody decided that was the best way to convey that concept to the rest of the world in their opinion. And therefore the definition is just another man's opinion. Go into these courts with beliefs and opinions. No fact or truth can be, or truth of law can be tried in a court. Damn right it can't. It's got to be done in private, in equity. Go to their brother in private. Now, if that brother refuses to listen to you, there's a next step. If that step doesn't work, then there's a third step. This is direct correlation to the Administrative Procedures Act, people. So when they make their offer and you're able to rebut it by expressing it appropriately, and they don't want to listen to you, that's the first step, acquiescence. Maximum law, he who first leaves the battlefield loses. Well, let's be fair about it again. Equity, let's be fair. First time's a mistake. Second time's negligence. Third time's on purpose, baby. Law of threes, third time's on purpose. Do I need to repeat myself? Have I not abundantly expressed my legacy? You can go back through and look on my Facebook page here and look at my journal over the last 4 years and see how all the different forms I've tried to express it. Again, it doesn't have to be in form, it has to be in substance. That's the intent. That's why all crimes are commercial, because they had to write it down. And in writing it down, that costs. So they had to seek some kind of economic substance to pay for that cost. And on top of that, like a lunatic, it's lucrative to think that somebody would then pay you interest or fees, fines, and penalties on top of that so that you could make money as an income to take advantage of it. Let the fool be fooled. Another maximum law that they take advantage of. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. So damn right it isn't. Do you not understand whence your laws come from? Without equity, you have no law. period. It's just a belief. It's a system of credit to which the one that is a victim gives credence, credibility, and credit to, because they have no faith in truth. Why? Because they don't know truth. They haven't looked up the origins. They haven't seen where it comes from. They haven't looked into themselves and known thyself so that thy could express thyself without form, but internally by your intent. And my intent is to love my God like no other, to love my brother as myself. And in so doing, I can't deny you for your ignorance, because I have to forgive you for you know not what you do. It's a catch-22 for people like myself. I love you, but I ain't gotta like you. I love you, but I ain't got to like you. Believe me. Give me credit. Have faith in me that I love you. And to let you go on in that ignorance without learning, without trying to help you learn more and come closer, then I'm not doing my due diligence. And therefore, I myself am in sin and already indebted to him by not following his word. But I ain't gotta like you. Acquiesce to that. Unconditionally. So don't you dare trying to be putting your legalese conditions on it, because I'm going to unwrap it and tie it around your throat. Anyway, that's the basics of it, people. Now I'm going to open the board, and we'll talk more about the Facebook video I did last week. So go ahead and unmute your mics if you want to join in the discussion. Otherwise, chat windows are there so you can post little comments and questions. Appreciate any links or anything. And remember, I need your concepts and ideas as well, because even though I'm open-minded, there are some things I may not think about. There are some things I don't know. I am not perfect yet. I don't know what you know. You don't know what I know. My truth isn't your truth. Your truth isn't my truth. So please be open, honest, and willing. Spread this stuff with the intent of helping each other in that prosperity and abundance.
Woo, woo, woo.
Back together. Yes, thank you, brother. How you doing?
I get a weird echo in there, man. Go on now.
So what's somebody over here in the comments posted somebody he owns 62% of the group's equity, and that's an important thing when we're talking about our trust in regards to this legal title that I'm talking about. There is no percentage that goes to the legal system when you're talking about standing by your word. Your word is your bond. Well, where do you get your word? You can't serve two masters. So you can't be citing this legal system. You use it against them in equity by saying, well, the facts of the law are the facts of the law, but the truth of the word is that you have personal jurisdiction. And that has absolutely nothing to do with me unless I am that person, unless I control that person. Otherwise, you're using persons against me, and that's known as personage. He's a respecter of no persons. I'm not to allow you to even use your own person against me under the suggestion that it might possibly be mine, or I might possibly be able to control it. If I can control it, then I'm going to control it and not use it at all. If I'm going to use any person, I believe I should be able to create a different person. I, in fact, believe I should be able to create a different person for every transaction that I commit. I'm the one that gives that mother sucker a name.
Just look at receipt, brother. That transaction number is the new person for every transaction.
Yeah. That's what I've been trying to tell people. Every transaction is a new person. It's the establishment of a new implied trust. And if it ever goes to court, then it becomes a constructive trust. You have to stand there and be able to express the trust, which requires no legal title, period. Bitch, you can get the fuck off me. Excuse my language again.
Well, question. If you're
Sure.
gonna express a trust, usually you have to put the legal and the equitable title together, and that opens the trust to be able to manipulate it.
Well, if you're already bound, if you're already bound to a prior trust, a private, special, priority, exclusive, equity, express trust. All you have to do is be able to express that. I'm sorry, but I'm here on special on the special matter with or special private matter with priority, exclusive, equity, expression of trust in abundance. My word is my bond, sir. Let my yea be my yea, and my nay be my nay. Your legislated word there has the intent purely and solely of seeking economic substance, which means it is not inequity at all. I'm sorry, you can't apply that in equity. Can you prove that I am not in equity? By proving that I am in fact and in law in that jurisdiction. Because see, I may live in this world, but sir, I assure you, the fire in me, the fire in this man before you, extending from the spirit, is not of this world.
Quite simply, you're just there by divine appearance, and he's trespassing against your estate. Therefore, he needs to make this a private
Well,
matter.
That's the problem. Here we go. Here, let me express the estate, okay?
Okay.
And this is very important. The estate is known as property, right? And if
Correct.
property is a matter of possession, and it says possession is 9/10 of the law. We conform ourselves to that physical form of man in the possessory rights of materials. Okay? The possession isn't the right. It's the inherent intangible ability to express that right. So that no
Well,
matter
my soul resides in this body, and there's no possible way his soul can reside in this body. He's trespassing against my estate by having me in front of him or
it's
her
not your estate.
or
It's
my
his
body.
estate. It's his estate.
Okay,
Correct.
I get it. I get it. It's all about God.
Your body is his estate.
Got it.
You got your
I'm-
seed from him. Your mother
Got it.
brought forth the seed of your dad. Your mom brought forth the seed of your dad. And in doing so, she brought forth a nation. And that is known as a body.
Got it.
Okay? So your body is the expression of him. It's the image and likeness. In that image and likeness, the fire that he gave forth has that fourth element. You too, as man, in body, have that fire. That's why you live. You have life. The friction of those electrons, protons, and neutrons in your body exchanging. That's a heat. That's why your body temperature is 98.6 degrees. That's proof that you are a life tenant. The fire that resides in you, you have to be able to express that as the fire of the spirit that motates that body. I'm the only one that makes that choice. And where does that choice come from? It certainly doesn't come from some legislated word trying to put fear in. I am Keith Orland, stop. And this is where it comes to expression. Even when we talk about their English language, their Latin languages, all those roots, Babylonian, we have Keith Orland Little, comma, Keith Orland. Those are legal names. We've got what we call a given name, Keith hyphen Orland, and then we put a full stop. That's the given name. Even that is a legal essence.
Yep.
That is of a legal, as a legal characteristic. So when we think about the inspiration of mom and dad giving us a calling, it was a phonic sound only. And in order to be bifurcated and then hypothecated into a commercial legal system, seeking nothing but economic substance through taxation, fines, fees, penalties, codes, rules, regulations, all this, anything but law. Period. I don't have a name. I haven't been called yet. When we're reborn and we're given a new name, the name comes from him. When it's inspired through dad and mom procreating and co-creating, and they together got together and called you a name, it was then bifurcated and hypothecated. It's no longer any good. What is your will? Can you express your will by choosing a name for yourself, expressing it that way, while he has a name already cast in stone, that be at the corner of stone, and that name be Jesus. And at the right hand of God, he passes those powers that he got from his Father onto you. Do you not have the same power? And that is the special, private, priority, exclusive equity expression of my trust in him, because it's direct legacy. Pure and simple.
One thing I would just like to bring to attention is, because it seems like there's these details that have been danced around. The written word is just the impression of the verbal vibrations. So
Right.
even
The
written
vocal.
word, right? So even written word is personage.
Yep.
They're just characters.
Exactly. They're a second person. They're in second person position because the first person in character had to first write it down. So this is the first person, the one that authored it. He's a respecter of no persons. I'm not going to author any persons if I ain't got to. But in trying to help forward this knowledge to people, I'm going to, on the levy of committing that sin, knowing that I'm forgiven, but I believe I know in the best interest of helping you, I'm going to try to help you come out of her by creating a balance, a way of knowing a little bit more than what you know, so that when you do sign, when you do authorize, when you do place your mark, when you do define a brand, you know a little bit more about what you're doing than the system does, because you can back it up in equity and explain yourself for sinning. Because all debts are sin. Forgive me, Father, my sins, for I forgive those who are indebted to me. The true definition of debt is sin. That's why they make all crimes commercial, so they can profit off of it. It's lucrative. And only a lunatic, a fool's fool, would say, okay, but we've all been a fool's fool and we need to come out of her. That's why I try to do this stuff and help people learn how to express themselves. That's been the core of my education, is getting back to the root cause, root words, and root knowledge, so that you can then turn around and affect a better verbalization by your experiences, so you come to a greater wisdom of that knowledge. And that's the expression. Whether you got to do it through paper or drawing on cave walls. Heaven forbid, if this world comes to an end in the next 2 weeks and we starve to death and most of us are without any means, and we have to come back to that origin and we start drawing things on caves, I don't think it's going to be deer and antelope anymore. I think it's going to be codes, rules, regulations, policy, procedures, processes, things like that. Things that we haven't already got in in material formatted documents, printed documents.
That's what the legal system is, brother.
Which-
It's security.
And so it's important to realize that there's two sides of the coin of that stuff, you know. When you start saving all that material, and this is how I can see the concept of everybody burning books, no matter what kind of books they are, burning the flag, no matter what kind of flag it, I don't give a fuck. Excuse my language again, because my legacy doesn't go to the flag. I assure you, my legacy doesn't go to some book, even if it is the Bible. My legacy goes to the intent, and my God is a benevolent God, because he said, go forth and prosper in abundance. Freely giving what I have freely given. It's here. See it? Do you see it? Do you observe it, record it, and report it to another? Do you pass that knowledge on? When you see all them bats and stuff coming out of the cave at a certain time every day, do you go tell somebody so you can contrive a plan to trap a bunch when you're hungry? Do you learn the calls of those wild animals and repeat it? Observe, record, report? Are you reporting it? What's report? Well, you heard it. If then, go to. Your mind works just like a computer. If you hear it, can you sound it the same? Can you make that same verbalization? See, verbalization is an action. That's why it's called verb. A vocalization of a word is using your vocal cords to form words. It's the same thing. You're just using different sounds, different phonic symbols. People do it all the time, calling birds, moose, elk, pigs, cows, people. That's a legal thing too. That's the legal construct of part of the body, which belongs to him. So wipe off the legal bullshit. Prove who owns the land, air, and water. Sorry. He might have a question about that one, buddy. And they have to agree to it. They can't possibly say they created me. They have to agree to that it's fair and reasonable for any common man to come to the conclusion that I certainly wasn't created by the doctor. I certainly wasn't created by the registrar, the state secretary of state treasurer. Nope. None of it. So this body obviously belongs to somebody else. So in all equity, whether it be full title or legal title and equitable title, in all of equity, I don't give a crap. How's that? See, you can't rebut the truth. And as long as you know the truth, and the truth comes with the knowledge, my people shall perish for lack of knowledge. For my God, resuscitate yourself. I'm trying to breathe the life of God into you, or breathe the breath of God into you through his word, his expression. And I'm not one of these guys that's just sitting here behind the keyboard. I put a lot of information out because I do a lot of research. And in doing a lot of that research, I do a lot of interacting too. Not so much here lately. It's kind of gone by the wayside. People don't pester me too much. Of course, I'm kind of a lot more quiet community too. But at the same time, you can see through my Facebook journal again, I posted quite a few things, and I'm not going to stutter. I'm not going to babble. Tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. And I'm going to do it as peacefully as possible. I come in peace. I am in peace. I'm going to leave in peace. That's the legacy. Like I said, my God is a benevolent God. He comes in peace. He behaves in peace. Behave. It's not behave. Where the hell did you get that phonic symbolic representation? English. Think about it. B-E hyphen H-A-V-E. Behave. Okay. I behave. Yeah, I behave of peace.
Be happy with yourself.
Unconditionally. Yeah, be having. If you want to do anything, be having. Having of knowledge, truth, love, trust.
Don't worry, be happy.
Yeah. Expression, freedom of expression, freedom of association. It all has to do with your right of freedom of movement, which you have inherently, like I said. The electronic movements in your body is because of the friction of the particles in your body transferring electrons from one particle to another. You've got an automatic electrical source of fire, baby, to verbalize. Expand your verbalization. Draw it back off of that paper and learn how to express it in other means. Calling all clowns, calling all clowns. You'd be surprised how many people answer that. But if you call out to God's children, how many people are going to answer? There we go. Let me finish on that. Lori talked about earlier, expression of the name and stuff. Keith hyphen Orland, full stop. Now, I used to express it space little or house of little. I gained some knowledge. And so I'm going to express it. Keith hyphen Orland, full stop, colon, or excuse me, full colon, stop, space, Kin Conrady hyphen little of the house of Israel. Now, house of Israel, let's talk about the house of Israel. House of Israel, we're talking about the children of God. Well, when we're talking about the children of God, let's talk about the roots. Isn't that Abram? Wherefore he accepted the new covenant of God. He was reborn. And so God gave him a new name. He inscribed that name in the white stone. The white pages that we read from the Bible is Abraham. And thenceforth came the legacy. See, when Abraham was reborn, he was taken from the land where he was born, and he was placed by God himself upon exacting that covenant and saying, yes, God, I will follow your way. I will teach it to my people. And God said, so long as you do as I say, your children are my children. And this is why I tell you, brothers and sisters, that you are my brothers and sisters, and my brothers and sisters are your brothers and sisters. Your children are my children. Your mothers and fathers are my fathers and mothers. My mother and father are your mother and father. It's the legacy. The fire within us all comes from him. When you come out of her, you quit sinning. You put down the childish things. You quit the childish ways. You put down childish things. Isn't that a person? See, my legacy includes my heirs and heiresses. Child, again, is a construct of the legal fiction. So when you put down the legal fiction, when you put down that person, when you take that person and you're able to prove hold on here. When you're able to prove that if you try to take that piece of paper and stand it on its bottom, on its side, on its top or on its other side to see if it's got feet to stand, I guarantee you that bitch is dead. And I don't care if it falls on the public side or the private side. Get me now? I don't care. Again, excuse my language. Dwayne, well, what's everybody else got? I know you guys are open. Tell me something.
I'm taking it all in, still learning. I get your frustration as well. I talk to the guys at work, and and I explain stuff all the time. I'm like, man, these are public servants. All are created equal. I'm like, if you've been hurt or harmed someone, I told him, I said, if somebody said you smacked them or stabbed them or whatever, then I said, are you just going to say, well, okay, or are you going to say, no, I want to see who the hell's saying that?
Yeah.
Come on, man.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to come in peace. We talked about this last week, Chip, when it come to that CDL and everything. All you got to do is go to these people in peace, and the situation resolves itself. That's a good sign, brother.
Yeah.
It works.
Sometimes
it's all about expression.
Sometimes that coming in peace, they don't like that though.
No. And that's one of those things that puts me off about doing the audits, because I really do want to do those audits. Mm-hmm. And a buddy of mine, or a friend of mine, brother of ours, just spoke about this the other day when we were up at Derek's. When we're doing these audits, we've got to find a better way to express them so that both the people that are viewing it and trying to learn are getting that expression and learning how to express them appropriately in peace, without the cussing and swearing, without the objective subjecting these people to their own ignorance, but just expressing that, hey, this is a matter of this and this, and that's all we're trying to do. A lot of times we see them getting into some argumentative states and stuff, and I've got to give a lot of them credit though. Some of these guys that have been out here doing this for a while, they're at least asserting it, they're expressing it, and they're showing that quote chain of title, that legacy of where they're getting their laws from, so that when they try to enforce municipal laws or some kind of internal policy at the post office says no filming inside, excuse me? I don't think so. But let's talk about this. Because like I said, in the beginning was Word, and the Word was God, and the Word was God. Now you can't try these facts and stuff in court, so let's talk about this privately. But that right there just kind of ends your public display, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Are you talking to them in private? Are you coming to them in equity? And see, that's the thing that holds me back. I comprehend this stuff. And if I really want to effectuate it, I have to come with clean hands. I have to give them notice. What is that notice? Notice is that very thing that we're trying to do these audits for, is the legacy. I have to give him notice that I'm the boss. And as boss, I'm not going to do this undercover, boss. I'm coming in with a goddamn camera, buddy.
That's it. They don't like that camera.
So, well, that's acquiescence and ignorance and such is no excuse. So we think about the notice of principal is notice to agent, notice to agent is notice to principal. It's uniform throughout all jurisdictions. And so when we give them that notice and they comprehend it, they do, I assure you, they better give notice that people recognize uniformly throughout all jurisdictions. Period.
Just remember,
Let my yea be my yea, let my yea be my yea, and my nay be my nay in all jurisdictions, not just exclusive equity, express trust in him. You will hear him in all jurisdictions. Yep.
when you flip that switch, when you flip that switch, remember to be respectful because things are going to change for you. You'll know it
Yeah.
when you go private. There's no attitude. There's no fighting. It's a respectful conversation. So just be prepared to flip the switch when you go private to being respectful and being respected. You've got to give it and you got to take it.
Stay in
There's
order.
back and forth.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Just got to know who yields the flaming sword of truth.
Right.
Who holds the fire?
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I was able to catch you on this Zoom meeting. You know a little bit about what's going on with me, Keith, brother. I did not make it down there because I don't feel they have the authority to call me anywhere. So I'll deal with them when
Well,
they come.
Can I
You
address
told
that?
me. Absolutely.
Okay, under 31 USC 363.6, a minor is someone that hasn't accepted the trust. By them calling you down there, they're asking you to accept the trust and stand in the stead as the executor, or and you need to manage the affairs of the estate. Otherwise, they'll come after you because you're a minor. You don't know what's going on, and they're going to take advantage of you. So if you'll think about that for a while, think about what
I've
you're
been
doing
there.
and what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah, I have been there. I just didn't conform to what
Right.
they said. So
Um,
I did put in a letter rogatory and all of that about the trust and those things, but they just don't listen. They do what they want to do.
well, and this is why it's important to come in with equity, come with clean hands. We're going to take a look here.
And request to go to a
Yeah.
district court. You don't belong in the lower courts. You belong in a district court. They'll listen and
Right.
CC it to the head of your district court in your state. If you don't CC them and they don't see it, they don't know about it. What they don't know, don't hurt them. They know about it. They have to be on their best behavior.
Now I'm gonna go ahead. I've got this meeting scheduled for 2 hours, and we've got another hour left. So I'm gonna go ahead and take a little bit of time here to help people comprehend this a little bit. When we're talking, Russell, specifically in your case, it's very important to understand the maxims of equity. So we're gonna do some screen sharing here. Hopefully this is successful.
Yeah, I have those. There's 20 of them.
Okay, is everybody seeing my screen, the 20 maxims of equity?
Yep.
Okay, first one, and these are all roles, okay? This is behaviors. If you're gonna have these equities, you got to be having them, behaving. Equity, you have to behave in equity. Equity considers that done what ought to be done. Okay, and we're in regards to proving this legacy, we have to admit that, okay, well, we were born of our mother. Our mother got the seed from our father. Our father's seed bears the fire of the Creator. Do you not see it in me? Equity 2.2 will not suffer a wrong to be without a remedy. The thing here, though, is you have to create your remedy. That's why it's important to know the equities of law so you can create that remedy. You have to know what's fair. Well, there's a guy over here got the checkbook to take care of all the expenses, so it's not affected my trust that was unlawfully breached. I mean, does he have the effects to be able to cover all the costs and pay all the parties? Does he have his trust established? Can he be the one that establishes the payments, disbursements of what's due? Okay, so let's switch that table again. My express trust says that I have rights to have his trust materials used for all procedures in manners start to finish. Fair and simple. I think that's beneficial to him too. Otherwise, he's going to use that against me. Matter of fact, he's going to try to take my entire legacy. I'm only wanting him to pay for a portion. I think that's quite equitable. 2.3, equity is a sort of equality. I think I've been quite equitable, quite equal.
Quite more than fair. 2.4, one who seeks equity must do equity. Obviously, I'm doing equity so far.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure.
While you're doing this, think about you were invited to a party and you didn't RSVP and you got to RSVP and they've got to pay for your your meal because you didn't show up. What happened was the judge invited you to a party. You didn't RSVP or give him what he needed. You didn't show up. So he's doing an apology and a show up and a rescheduled time at your convenience, but CC in that district court. It has nothing to do with how you feel or what you're doing. You dishonored the court, just like you dishonored that lady having her party.
No.
So read that.
First,
Listen.
no.
Read the equity.
First, before you go telling people that they dishonored the court, let's place the dishonor in the right place. Personage is personage, no matter how applied.
Correct, but
Okay,
They
they
have to-
violated.
they
It
have-
is not dishonor on the court. They bring dishonor themselves.
but he hasn't been able to get to the meeting to let them know that they dishonored him and that they're trespassing.
Doesn't matter. I do not have to honor their legislative law that says I have to go to their damn court, period.
Right.
I do not
No,
have to
they have-
honor their legislative law that says I have to contract in any form. The substance
Do
of
they-
law is the intent. And if they're seeking economic substance, I do not have to conform.
But do they have notice yet? That's a key
I
question.
don't have
too.
to give them notice. They are to know. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. Is it not written?
Amen,
Damn.
brother.
Hmm.
Amen, brother. That's
I'm
what I
just
said all
telling,
along.
if you want to avoid the problems, that's what I did to.
That's right. And that's why
That's all the-
that's why I'm going through this. Please.
Right.
Let me help
Okay.
explain this, because this is going to help these guys comprehend. If they're subjected to having to write it down, they need to comprehend how to express that in writing. I'm trying to show them I can do it right now, baby.
Oh, I know.
So I'm trying to do this so they understand. Equity
All right.
aids the vigilant, not the indolent, as you've just seen. I shall not waver. Equity imputes an intent to fulfill an obligation. My obligation is already in abundance to him and his word, not yours. Equity acts in personam, on persons rather than objects. I object. I object. Equity abhors a forfeiture. Give unto Caesar what belongs to Caesar. You cannot create a forfeiture upon God. Sorry, don't know what to tell you. You have to talk to the big man. Equity does not require an idle gesture. Equity does not require an idle gesture. It needs action. You have to be able to state it. You have to be able to express it. Because when, like we just got in a little thing there, they're the ones coming with dishonor. I
But
object.
that's the one I'm going after. Sorry.
Yeah, I object. I'm sorry. I don't understand what you're doing here. My comprehension is, in the beginning was Word, and the Word was with God. And so long as I follow his way, I am faultless, just like Abraham. Genesis 17, verse 1. And when you can walk into these courts and state, I'm not reading this stuff off the screen right now, people. I'm on this page right here with you. And that's why I say you got to know this stuff. This is knowledge. And the more you practice it, the more it becomes habit. And the more you don't have to recall it, it's already there. He who comes into equity must come with clean hands. Again, this is like I was saying, equity, in order to even express this, you have to comprehend what clean is all about. And if you comprehend what clean is all about, his hands come clean without a legal title whatsoever. That is equitable. That is equity. Nothing else. If you require a legal title, I'm sorry, that's not equity. You require my mark on a piece of paper. I'm sorry, that's not equity. If I can't leave my mark by being witness before others who can hear it and leave my mark that way, don't know what to tell you. Again, you'll have to talk to the big man upstairs. Equity likes to do justice and not by halves, but by the whole. And this is why we talk about making me whole again. I don't need anybody to make me whole again. I am whole. Prove I'm not. Have you dismembered me yet? Am I a member of your association? I don't think so. I got all my members right here. And them different kinds of digits. Equity will take jurisdiction to avoid a multiplicity of suits. And this comes from all those different jurisdictions. Lori was just talking about that. You take this to district court. The Code of District of Columbia is the one that all this shit in America is going under. And it's all designed on trust law. And it's all coming from the Bible. It's all coming from in beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. The system works exactly the way it's supposed to. Let a fool be a fool. Learn his word, and you're not going to be foolish. I guarantee you. Equity, people with eyes of equity see equity in everything, in all forms, because it can't exist without equity. It can only operate without equity. So the system itself, the way it's written, works fine. If you want to partake in it, it works fine. I'm willing to help pass on news, information, and knowledge to help construct these legal documents, these legal certificates, these financial instruments, these debt notes. I'm willing to help you comprehend that stuff and come to a better knowing of what it is and how it operates and why. It's all part of it. It's all pertinent. And hopefully, as you perfect it more and more, you too will be versed in it. And you will sing it the rest of your life. You will speak it the rest of your life. You will see it in the actions throughout the rest of your life. Others will hear it, see it, taste it, smell it, and feel it. They will sense it literally before you're even there. Literally. And this is to avoid the problem with all those different jurisdictions. If you get somebody in this jurisdiction asserting that they get their authority from this jurisdiction and they get their authority from, you've got a multiplicity of suits there, don't you? Oh yeah, I'm going to sue every motherfucker here. No, just take them to equity. They're all going to pay you. Sorry. My apologies, master. We've been put in our place. But it's got to be done appropriately. It's got to be expressed in peace, with peace, logic, ration, simple language, and that's it. Equity follows the law. We just spoke about this earlier. What is the law? Well, a large portion of the law, it comes from love thy God and no other. Love thy brother as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Well, as Lori and I talked about earlier, what about the Lord's Prayer? If you saw a post I posted on Facebook, the Lord's Prayer.
That's one of the most important things to learn. Sorry, I'm in the middle of something too.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Where did it? Maybe I didn't post it. Here we go. There we go. Posted this last night. Genesis, and when we talk about coming out of her, babbling and stuttering and stuff, and the whole of the earth was of one language and of one speech. What is that language? The Spirit. The will. That's the one language. And you express it in your every move, in your every vocalization, in every penmanship you do, in everything you watch. It's the one language. Why are you watching it? Why are you doing what you're doing? It's the intent. The Lord's Prayer and its importance. Matthew 6, 9, verse 13. And this is, I always refer to King James Version, just like I do the Latin root etymology. After this manner, therefore, pray ye, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. And that says, I put a little thing in there, synonyms: sanctify, consecrate, and bless. So when you're praying, and it says hallowed, it's blessed be thy name. What's he doing? Remember, isn't he the one that gives us a new name? Blessed be thy name. Bless me, O Father. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. See, I live in this world, but I'm not of this world. I am of heaven. And so as it is done in heaven, so it is done in earth. And this is one of the main important differences between the two different versions of the Lord's Prayer. Then it says, give us this day our daily bread. And here too is a big importance in regards to the expression and the two different versions of the Lord's Prayer. And I'll discuss it when I get down to the version in Luke. And then it says, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And again, another one of those differences in expression. And so I'm going to show you why you can't believe the Bible itself explicitly. You have to be able to take the information in and discern for yourself in equity what is fair between the two different statements. You have to be able to correlate one with equity and one with legal. This is a book that shows you both. You have to see these correlations and know them. And it says, and lead us not into temptation. And I've got here a bunch of synonyms: lure, tempt, decoy, solicit, inveigle, gull, cajole, lobby. What do all these people do, corporate people do, when they want to change? They get a bunch of their representatives up before Congress and lobby. They are tempting lobby. They are tempting Congress to legislate certain law by making proposals themselves through lobbying. They are proposing law. Coax, persuade, try, attempt, endeavor, examine, try out. But deliver us from evil, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. Amen. One of the things that I want to make very clear here, it says, and the glory forever. Amen. This is the legislated side of eternal life. This prayer here teaches us that give us this day our daily bread, without thinking about our legacy. Just like thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Does the same thing. It legalizes the legacy. As we see in Luke 11, verse 2 through 4, King James Version of the Bible again, it says, and he said unto them,
when ye pray, say, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so in earth. As in heaven, so in earth is correct. First in line, or first in time, first in line. As opposed to thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. That's an ambiguous way of expressing things by turning them around. It's backwards. That's one of the first things they do when they twist your language.
Can I interrupt you, Keith?
Sure.
That's one of the things I said to you before. I had a classical background in education. So it's a little bit different how I see it than most people do. And nothing against anybody, just take it for what it is and use it to your advantage. One of the things that I've come to realize is the Pope controlled the kings and queens and even decided who they married and who the kings and queens were. In order for the Pope to communicate with the kings and queens, he had a book. It's called the Bible. So when people say it's written in parables and it's written differently, that's what you are saying, is you've got to learn to have the eyes and ears to hear and see it. And maybe that might give somebody another perspective and another way of saying exactly what you're saying, so that when you're saying these things, even if it's your interpretation, they may have a different interpretation. Don't be afraid to ask questions, because we only learn that way. But this is a parable. This whole book, yes, there is a God. Yes, there is a faith. But the book has been manipulated, and that is how the world works. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're an atheist, no matter who you are, once you look at it, that's how the world works. He's not preaching to you. He's reading it out of there. So look at it as a book that the Pope communicated with
get done here. Okay. In regard to that, you use faith, but we're going to talk about that in regards to a confidence gain. So, he does in heaven, so in earth. First came heaven. First came heaven. So we have to first relate to heaven before we relate to earth. Give us day by day our daily bread. Now remember, I talked about the other one saying, give us this day our daily bread. It leaves out the legacy. What is legacy? The legacy is the common day, means the very talk being provided to us in prosperity and abundance for our next generation that is supposedly in the future, in regards to eternal life, as opposed to forever. Forever is legal, eternal life is the Bible. And it's, like I said, it's more ties to the legacy or posterity, direct to the time, and therefore the lineage, your connection with that source, that seed, fire, that spirit. And it says, and forgive us our sins, for we also forgive everyone that is indebted to us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. So we can come and go into that temptation as we will by knowing how to operate in it. Because like I said, it does operate correctly if you know how to do it. The sin is the not knowing and using it anyway. If you have possession of something and you want to use it, you need to know how to use it. If you have a pen in your hand and you want to learn how to use it, you better learn what you're writing. You better learn what you're putting down on that paper. You better learn the form. In order to learn that form, that secondary form, don't you think you ought to know the word first so you can speak it through your actions? So you can practice it before you go spouting off the mouth and telling other people how to do things? See, I don't want to try to get anybody to believe me. I tell you all the time, don't believe the government, don't believe myself, don't believe anybody. do your research so you can do this. So you can correlate the two. This is equity right here. Let me explain this. The two different verses here that explain the Lord's Prayer. In equity, it's only fair that we take the two writings of the two witnesses before us, Your Honor, and compare their facts. And in discerning the facts, it is not fair. Is it not fair to come to an equality between the two? So that when we talk about give us this day our daily bread, should we not change reference to the legacy in truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and qualify it as something somewhat similar to day by day? Give us our legacy. What is our legacy? Our legacy is our time. The time that we're here and the impression that we make, no matter how we make it, period. So in discerning that, that's important to realize where those jurisdictions reside. Well, any other jurisdiction than equity itself is not a jurisdiction. And equity itself doesn't require you to have a title. It's like I got into a discussion over in Nebraska when we were visiting Derek. Tried to buy a pack of cigarettes, and believe you me, this woman looked over that counter and said, "Can I see your ID?" Sorry, I don't have an ID. Well, I'm going to require an ID. I don't require an ID. Guess I'm going to go without these cigarettes, huh? Well, a couple days later, we walk in there, and to resolve that situation, to come up with a remedy my own damn self, I had a brother in this who had an ID. But guess what? The clerk wasn't quite familiar with the world passport. It's an ID. Going to buy cigarettes for me. You know, this lady was confused about that ID. She didn't know what jurisdiction it was. She walked off with his wallet and all out of state. She just took control and disposal. That's legal title. She didn't possess it and use it. She controlled and disposed of it by taking it out of the place where it belonged. To set it on the counter so she could look at it. Excuse me. She didn't care. She didn't care. As far as her legislative law goes, she had to find out before she could proceed any further if that was a valid ID. She went about it wrong. She should have called her cohort up to the counter, but instead she took that instrument, theft of an international document, because of her own ignorance. We have to forgive her, for she knows not what she does. We have to do this stuff peacefully. But then when that woman comes out and asks us what our argument is, we're not arguing. So we really have to this cognitive dissonance, and it gets hard. But that's why we have to come with equity, and equity demands peace. Love thy neighbor as thyself. My God, maybe she doesn't know what she's doing. Obviously, she doesn't. She doesn't know the laws I do. Getting that her place as a servant in cognitive dissonance is part of it, enables this entire system. And like I told her, we're not here to argue. If anything, we're here to educate, because obviously you guys don't have this knowledge. We're just trying to pass it forward. You tell me one law that says I have to have an ID and I will kiss your ass. Now, where does that legal entity belong? Now, where does that legal title belong? You tell me one law that says I have to have a written anything. And I'll tell you in your own codes how that is wrong. What is it? Even in the lowest code they have, UCC, contradiction, diction being the word. What is it? It dictates. Well, it's contrary to what it means. Contradiction. Contradiction of terms. Contradictory terms of instrument. Contradictory terms of instrument means they are instrumenting contradictory terms. How's that for flipping things around for you? An instrument contains, if an instrument contains contradictory terms, typewritten terms prevail over printed. Handwritten terms prevail over both. And words prevail over numbers. Now, nowhere in this code does it say that it has to be a written word. Nowhere in this code does it say it has to be a coded word. Nowhere in this code does it say anything but word. So I again reference legacy. In beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the word was God. When you first call out that word, Keith, you have already called upon the Spirit of God in equity. So let's get this shit straightened out. Again, excuse my language. So anyway, back to, where else was I? I have, oh, we were doing the 12 presumptions. No, 20, there we go. Equity follows the law. What is the law? Law is equity. Without equity, there is no law, period. Equity will not assist a volunteer. However, a fool is a fool. So once you recognize you volunteered, express it. I'm sorry, I no longer consent to your fucking bullshit. Excuse my language. Equity will not complete an imperfect gift. So when it comes to the birth certificate doesn't have equity until it's completed. And the way you complete it in this legal system is by accepting it, authenticating it, both state and federal levels, paying the import taxes on it, and it's under full faith and credit of that legal system. Why? Because in equity, they're bound to their word, just as we're bound to our word. So anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, baby. Contract makes the law, and therefore equity, when it is brought and expressed properly, can't fail. Where equities are equal, the law will prevail. So that's when we're talking about the two verses in the Bible about the Lord's Prayer. We explain that equity is equal, so we equalize them both and give them both the same power. You give the both same power in both jurisdictions, and this is uniform throughout all jurisdictions. And again, that's set in the lowest jurisdiction, the Uniform Code, Uniform Commercial Code. Even that recognizes it. Between equal equities, the first in order of time shall prevail. Okay, here we're going to talk about this supposed positioning in the expression of the trust. In regards to legacy, you first have a grantor. He grants you use and possession of the land, air, and water. You are a grantee. You get to assign trustees to minister that such property, whether it be physical or intangible, tangible or intangible, for the benefit of your legacy. And again, your legacy is your time here. Your time here includes all that is preceding you and all that will succeed you. That is both your father and your children, your heirs and heiresses. That is your legacy, that is your use, and that is your time. You have inherent ritual use of every movement you make. Pure and simple. Then we have that trustee and beneficiary. That's your legacy. In every legacy, you're going to have at least a grantor, a trustee, and a beneficiary. When you spread it out over time and you have 4 or 5 generations, now you have a grantor, grantee, trustee, and beneficiary. And they can all play different positions in each of those trusts. And this is the intent of the CQV trust, SEDA-KV trust. That is the right of the heir. I am both, again, as I expressed earlier, I'm the heir of my father, and my father is the heir of me. How is my father the heir of me? His seed is passed on through me. So he gets another heir through me. But only by following his word can I create children of Israel who I can then pass on that heirship to them, that grant to them. Only through following him can I grant, freely give what was freely given. Prosperity and abundance.
Hey, Keith,
Equity will not allow,
I want to ask you something real quick because what you just said kind of hit me.
Sure.
So in Tennessee, the Juvenile Act I'd found to be a private enactment, and its purpose is to fund the Indian Children's Welfare Trust.
Right there, fund. All right, right there, fund. Its purpose is to fund. Objection, clarification, point of law. The seeking of economic substance, is that inequity or in legislation? That destroys the entire.
That threw me off. I'm like, what does that mean exactly? I mean, because obviously, okay, so you're benefiting the Indian Welfare's Children's Trust, not the children themselves.
To your Indians.
Is that maybe, are they billing or passing bills to give reparations to the Indians in equity for the children of theirs that we stole in the past?
Can I answer something?
Deceit. What do the Indians have in legacy? They have a system. They have a system prior to the commercial system. They didn't have a commercial system like the forefathers did. They didn't have a shipping. They shipped it themselves. They carried themselves upon their travels, their nomadic travels throughout the seasons, encountering each other in different areas. And this is why we had a tribal system, federation of tribes, because they kept coming in contact with each other, and the elders discerned that it was only fair and equitable that they be just according to each of their different needs throughout the years as they came upon each other. And this involved the various exchanges. And this is why we have the value of exchange and not just merely the value of existence and association, but the actual exchange from within, which is the diversity. It's the diversity and the evolution of man in various aspects. And we're not using the correct evolution intent. We're not bettering ourselves. We're falling. These tribes that think that they need to subject themselves to some state jurisdiction to help their people overcome addictions or anything, that's wrong. They need to reinstitute their medicines. Show them how to use it appropriately.
Oh, they didn't willfully volunteer for that. I have a video from the university that explains that when they identified that the Indians were suffering from meth addiction, they went to the Indians because they wanted to help. They wanted to do research, see what they could do. The Indians told them,
Yeah.
get out of my face. This is my private space and you're in it. And I'm not going to give you any ability to research me. So what these people
Yeah, and that's what I'm talking
did
about.
is
They went to the tribal elders then.
Yeah. And
Listen.
Yeah,
that's
see-
they got the police and the guns involved. So that's not willful on the Indians' part. I mean, they
Right.
coerced and totally pounded them
And
for
see,
it.
that's why we got to come together as a people as whole. Like I said earlier, anybody that follows his word, whether you be a son of Abraham's lineage or not, just following that word, he's already guaranteed you that you're reborn, just like he gave Abram the option of accepting a new covenant. That's all you're doing is, as a foreign people, you're accepting a new covenant, whether you know you're foreign or not. You could be of Abraham's lineage. I don't know. And therefore, I don't want to perish for lack of knowledge. So I want to gain that knowledge by following his way. If I follow his way and gain that knowledge and truly accept it as inherently equal and fair and just, then I've accepted his way. And therefore, by my actions alone, I am a child of God. I'm a child of Israel. And that's what we need to help these, quote, Indian nations comprehend. It's in fact in line with their very own concept.
Keith, can you hear me? Meredith Quinn has some videos out that if you're interested in the Indian tribes, look at Meredith Quinn's videos. They're hard to find. There's a guy that speaks for him. He's passed now. There's a guy that speaks for him, but try to find Meredith Quinn's videos. The Indian tribes, they also have birth certificates now, which means they're administrating their estates by the United States. So what they're doing, if you'll go and look at the Texas Education Code, it says the school districts are managing the assets of the district. What assets of the district are they managing? Because they control your children and they tell you what to do with them. When you get what I'm saying, then you'll know what they're doing to the Indian tribes, because about 5-6 years ago, the Indian tribes signed a lot of things, except I think the Lakota and one other tribe signed a lot of things over to the U.S. That's why the U.S. Police can now go on their reservation. So
That wasn't the Indian people. That was the people implanted in the Indian Council.
Indians are no
People are free spirited. Actually, they're not weak like that.
And what they're doing actually is they're taking the assets they're actually taking over is the information, the knowledge.
They're taking over the monetary assets of the Indians and the minerals and the dividends they should have been getting from the
Did you not hear me? Did you not hear me? Did you not hear me?
No.
Indians do not have legal assets. They do not have value in the legal system. This is proven time and again, and they will all admit, and it is even taught in the history books, the monetary system we know today, the legal system today that we know today, is all a construct of our forefathers that brought it from a foreign country. Inequity.
They have a person. I know, inequity, but they have a person just like you and I do.
So please, let's stick with equity.
Playing volleyball, but they canceled it. So I came home to you, Pupper.
They came home to what?
So anyway, here's where we're going. This next one. Between equal equities, the first in order of time shall prevail. So when we talk about these Indian nations, they shouldn't be subjecting themselves to this commercial system whatsoever if they honestly, truly believe in their legacy. No matter what it's from, their legacy itself proves that they were operating hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands and thousands of years without a commercial system whatsoever.
Yep.
So between equal equities, the first in order of time shall prevail. Period. 2.18, equity will not allow a statute to be used as a cloak of fraud. And again, the statute comes with seeking an economic substance. In seeking an economic substance, it is all personage, which is known to be a false record, and therefore is in fact fictitious and fraud. Plain and simple. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's like faith and fear. You can't have faith without if you have faith, you can't have fear. If you have fear, you can't have faith. Same with this system.
Can I interject real quick?
Sure.
I just wanted to say, if you're not speaking, mute your microphones, because there's a lot of people that are unmuted.
Sorry.
And I think that's what the interference is.
Yes,
As you were.
please do that, people, please.
Is that you?
Next one. This is a very important one in regards to what I was explaining earlier in the legacy, in the four generations, where you got a grantor, grantee, trustee, and beneficiary, the true four positions of a trust. Equity will not allow a trust to fail for want of a trustee. This is the inherent right to be able to make your own choice, to go out and have a companion so you can express the trust naturally, not legally, naturally, and thereby coming into companionship with another procreator, one that you can have friction with in the proper manner to co-create a beneficiary, complete that trust. And now you have the grantor. The man is the grantee who transferred his seed to the woman, making her the trustee to bear forth the nation over the next 9 months and the next supposed 18 or 21 years of educating that child in the knowledge of her companion who follows the word of God, no matter what nation he comes from. So long as he follows that, he shall be faultless. He shall be given a new name. Pure and simple. 2.20, equity regards the beneficiary as the true owner. And again, we're referring to the automatic express trust as seen in the Bible, Genesis 1:25 through Genesis 2:25. And read that and get to know that. Get to know that you are the land, air, and water. And the way to affect your freedom of movement, your freedom of association, and not to associate by being able to ingress or egress is the fire within you already of the friction of all the body parts that move, even while you sleep and you're breathing. There is a fire that exists in you. Pay attention to it. The more you pay attention to it, the more you practice it, the more intuitive it will become. The more intuitive it becomes, the more attention you pay to the environment. The more attention you pay to the environment, the more you learn how to pay attention to yourself and have the environment in whole. Make me whole.
That's why the scriptures say to meditate upon my word.
Correct.
I always tell people too, that's why attorneys create controversy. It's to invoke fire, because the invocation of fire opens the channels to communication through land, air, and water.
Yep.
So they want you to be mad.
You learn how to operate it right, you're going to verbalize the right actions.
Yeah, balance. If you have that balance, then you're not going to come with the kind of fire they hope you to come with. You're going to come up with some real fire, like the fire starter.
Yeah, you're gonna come with that knife. You're gonna. So now we're going to talk about the 12 presumptions of law, and this is what these equities defeat. The maxims of equity defeat the 12 presumptions. And the first one is the presumption of the public record. What am I talking about tonight? We're talking about that damn legal title and the instruments and documents and stuff. There is no requirement. It itself is a presumption. Period. The next one is presumption of public service. I am not in service of the public. I am service on a mission as a steward of his word. I am to minister his word first and foremost, and then I can administrate to the needs of the public. I must pay attention to number one first before I can pay attention to anybody else.
That was well said.
The presumption of public oath. Again, we're talking public. I'm sorry, my oath is first to his word, not to your legislated. I'm sorry, I can't do it. Nope. The presumption of immunity. Listen, brother, I forgive you for not knowing what you do in your ignorance. But I guarantee you, he's going to dole out any punishment he thinks you deserve. I'm going to presume that you're serving him and you just don't know. Presumption of summons. Again, when you call out Keith, you've already called upon the Spirit of God. The presumption of custody. Again, I have been given possession and use of this body. God has custody of this. He is the one that granted that custody to me. And I take full liability for my actions, but not of the person. Not of the person. So let's be fair here. If that person was flying through that speed zone, you can try to find him all you want, but you can't find me. I'm free of levy. Period. The presumption of court of guardians. Again, this is where we're talking about parentage. Once you're of age of majority, mom looked at me. I'm 48, 49 years old. She looked at me and said, "Keith, the face of your authority." Excuse me? They don't have custody of me. Who's got custody? Who is your guardian? He guides me. He protects me. I shall not waver. I'm already in his custody. It's customary for me to follow his way. Matter of fact, it's ritual. The presumption of court of trustees. Okay, this is an interesting one. I'm going to go ahead and read this one. I'm hoping you guys are looking these up. All you got to do is put into your search engine the 12 presumptions of law, the 20 maxims of equity, you know. But this one says the presumption of court of trustees is that members of the private bar guild presume you accept the office of trustee as a public servant. Again, I'm not a public servant. I've already rebutted that one. And government employee, I'm sorry, I've already rebutted that. Only government employees can be public servants. Only public servants can be public employees or government employees. I'm a servant of God. Sorry, that position's already filled. I ain't got time for anything else. Every waking hour, I'm look at my actions speak louder than my words. Just see, 24/7, I'm acting under His word.
First in time obligation.
Yep. Just by attending a Roman court, as such courts are always for public trustees. Now, I've got 11 cases. You can look up 11 cases. You can't see that I signed UCC 1-308, but you'll see 11 cases on it. As a matter of fact, I think you'll see 12, one of which has like multiple charges in it. That would be the last one. But there's 11 other cases that I signed UCC 1-308, just never showed up in court. Then there's the 12th one. Now, since then, I walked out refusing to sign any documents throughout the entire incident, except for the one that I was forced to sign in order to get out of jail first time upon the summons, which I later rescinded. So since then, they've got no record of any signature. And yet they still declare all the fines, fees, penalties, and such. They still think that they can expect me to give them a DNA sample or do a drug eval. Hell, it's been over 3 years since I walked out of jail. And I've had many, many interactions with not just the local police there, but police in New Hampshire, police in Eminence here, and all peaceful for the most part. I mean, if you count standing against 10 people in the highway, pulling guns on you and stuff, peaceful, but it never got to violence. So we did our part peacefully. That's what I'll say.
According to the court, that's not intimidating.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why I say, when you have faith, you can't have fear. You know, you gotta stand up against this stuff.
I've actually had 2 incidents like live guns drawn on me, and I kept the peace. I kept everybody cool, and they put them down 2 times. No shit. And one of them, a group of cops, like a dozen of them, mistake my vehicle for a vehicle that somebody just shot a cop, fled in.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but we have to accept this stuff. And like I said, people, we've got to accept that these people are indoctrinated in the public education system just like we were. My God, that's why they hire them. They're the dumb ones. I mean, think about it.
Yeah, it's hard. You got to remind yourself that that was your state of mind at one point in time. Maybe not to that extreme, but.
Right.
Oh,
And so it says.
You're living when your life is on the edge. That's when you're alive. Trust me.
Yep. Yep. And so to continue on, it says, unless this presumption is openly challenged. Openly challenged. What is openly challenged? Publicly challenged. Hear ye, hear ye, hear ye now. False accusations, false charges have been placed against my good honorable name in regards to my heavenly calling. That ought to catch some attention, huh? Take their damn case, place it in the public newspaper as a print of the case file, and make the claim false. Plain and simple. If it's published, let them know you've already recorded it as being false.
I was
actually going to pickle. They got.
I was actually going to do that, Keith. Can I do that at a public church?
No,
like
just do it.
outdated?
Well, yeah, verbally you could, yeah. Two or more witnesses.
I was thinking about putting it in writing and publicly noticing it on the church's wall, on their little notice.
Right.
Wall.
Yeah. Well, and post it in a local paper. See notice on at such and such a church. They have it in their records.
All right.
They are the keeper of the record. Keeper of what record? Well, the record of all the witnesses that were before the congregation upon the expression, who witnessed it firsthand. Well, how many were there? Oh, there's God. It's a huge church, like 1,200 people.
Well, there's actually 2 ginormous churches that all the judges and stuff go to. That was the one I was going to post it at.
Yeah, exactly. That's the concept. That's what I talk about, going to these people in peace. And we need to make these open challenges in peace, in the right manner. How is that right? What is that right manner? We need to commit to the administrative process. What's the administrative process? Well, you got to go before a witness first. You got to create the trust. Well, what's that trust? Well, the trust is expressed by at least 2 witnesses, and then placing it before at least a third. How do we do that? We express it in writing and put it before the congregation, or we speak it in front of a congregation and then put it in writing and give notice.
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's the open challenge.
Yeah, and is it too aggressive? What I'm saying to them is that they are falsely accusing me of having an associative personality disorder by associating me with classes of persons that are disabled. So that was really all I was going to do, and I was just going to put it up on the church wall for them. Well, the 2 churches.
I would see what I wouldn't do is try to rebut their lunacy, their lucrative propositions. I would just state for the fact the benefactor that is priority and paramount in all aspects of law, and that is in fact the legacy of equity. You have equity within you, and you don't care what they want to define you as. They have to come with equity. If they come with any of their legal bullshit, it'll be seen in the eyes of God. He's the one that rules. He's the one that brings upon revenge. That's why we're supposed to forgive our brothers for they know not what they do. But yet love our brothers as ourselves. Love thy neighbor as thyself, because you'd want to be forgiven, and you'd only really want God to be the judge. But in the same manner, he granted you that same ability to judge others. But again, Romans 13 verse 4, we're not supposed to judge by administrating legal legislated words that are twisted and causing people to stutter and babble. We're supposed to keep it straight and clean and in truth, and that is to minister his word without all the ambiguity of all the different definitions and everything. And that's the problem today. And so that's what we need to openly challenge, is the falsity of their words. And that's, again, you're coming forth as a presumption of acting as trustee. Well, yeah, I am, but the trustee I'm acting as is trustee in his house. I'm Keith-Orland, stop, space, kin, Conradi -Little of the house of Israel. What can you dispute about that?
So would you say precedent over presumption then?
No, you don't want to use precedence. You want to use expression of the legacy. Precedence is still a span of time that in the legal system is determined by man, even if it's the writing of the Bible. So we have to stick to the intent, and the intent is the legacy itself long before any other descriptor. And that is simply the intent of your word, not theirs. So just don't accept their words by clarifying. Point of law, what definition of that word are you using here? Because I don't see it in his vocabulary. His intent is that of a beneficial means. Here it's plainly constructed in detriment by charging to economic substance that would be detrimental to me. I need that. You're taking the money that I need to use to feed my children because I'm dependent upon this monopolized system of heresy. That's what it is. It's all heresy. It's all fraud. It's all fiction. It's all in violation of his word. Legal is the destruction of the word of God. The destruction of the way we're supposed to behave naturally. The presumption of government. Acting in two roles as executor and beneficiary is that for the matter at hand. The private bar guild appoint the judge, magistrate in the capacity of executor. And that's why they're called administrators, just a capacity that they're paralleling with executor, because he's the one that's going to execute the orders. Okay? They're going to draft the orders by drawing up the payments, and he's going to execute them. This is part of that administrative process we need to comprehend when it comes to this stuff. When we accept their offer of that implied trust contract, it shall not want fail for want of trustee. So it comes as implied without a trustee. If we step up as trustee in equity, it automatically brings that trust into equity and binds them to trust law that they, and I'm as trustee, I've got to by law protect the estate. So if they're beneficiary, who's the grantor? Who's the grantee? Me, or my mom, or my dad, or their moms or dads. No legal entity, no person can be grantor or grantee, period. So the presumption of government is acting in the two roles of executor and beneficiary. The executor is the one that's going to execute the order. The beneficiary is the one that's going to receive the order. Okay? They're going to give me an order. I don't want to make sure I qualify that signature in the proper manner so that it comes into equity. And guess what? Equity on that trust establishment can't fail. It's now got to be operated by law, and that means I get paid as trustee. Guess who sets the pay rate? Guess who sets that pay rate, folks? Right there. Beneficiary can't. Grantor doesn't. Grantee doesn't. They grant the position and the duties of trustee. The duty of the trustee is to make the payments. Well, if that's the duty, then who sets those payments? That's part of the duty, people. The presumption of executor des en port is the presumption that the accused does seek to assert their right as executor and beneficiary over their body, mind, and soul. They are acting as an executor des en tort, or false executor, challenging the rightful judge as executor. Therefore, the judge magistrate assumes the role of true executor and has the right to have you arrested, detained, fined, or forced into a psychiatric evaluation, unless this presumption is openly challenged by not only asserting one's position as executor, as well as questioning if the judge or magistrate is seeking to act as executor des en tort. The presumption stands, and the judge or magistrate of the private bar guild may seek the assistance of bailiffs or sheriffs to assert their false claim. This is rebutted. Under no circumstances may the judge attempt to assume the role of executor, and before any personal appearance before a court is undertaken to discuss matters at hand, the judge will need to put in writing that this is clearly understood and acknowledged. Plain and simple. The judge cannot execute. He can only administrate upon somebody else's order because he has to have authority. I execute by authority under his word, pure and simple. The presumption of incompetence is the presumption that you are at least ignorant of the law. Again, equity is the law. If you yourself cannot just simply have in fairness, and that means both tangible and logical reasoning, if you cannot act appropriately and fairly, equally just to others, love thy neighbor as thyself, if you believe you have the right to traverse from here to there, you must give them that same right. You must adhere to the principle that they have that equal right, that equal consideration. Pure and simple. If you don't, you violated the law already, just in contemplation by changing your internal intent.
You know what I want to say that actually does work? I have had success when we go to our neighbor and we provide for notice and make attempts to establish a relationship with duties and obligations. I've had success just without citing any law. I had no statutory code, just in all due fairness with notices and communications. Yep. And I've had the attorney general back out of the case, withdraw, vacate. We've had children offered back from CPS using no statute at all.
You can go into court and prove the law without stating a single word of the law, simply by stating I'm an idiot to your legislated word. I'm sorry.
I wanted to do that, but I chickened out.
And just keep repeating it. I'm an idiot. I'm just the common man. I comprehend the word of God, but I don't understand your laws. I'm an idiot.
You know what you just said? That would have been a better way of thinking of it. I'm like, I can't tell these people I'm an idiot. That's my pride. That's my
Oh, no. You want to admit that you're an idiot. I'm an idiot when it comes to this legislated law. I have a lot of ignorance. Yeah, I got to learn a lot.
I thought about
when it comes to his word.
Also, I get what you're saying, Keith. Also, kind of like I watched, I forget what video it was, but it says, I don't understand the nature and cause. And if you continue, and someone said, just continue to say, I don't understand the charge and never plead to nothing. They can't prove that do or don't understand, when you constantly, I don't understand. I'm understanding.
I've
It's hard
been,
to.
yeah, I've been doing
Exactly.
that for the last, since September. How many months is that? Since September, I've been saying, I don't get the nature and cause. If you could just give me a couple of minutes to gather some clarification. I had one judge went off on me. She ripped me apart. She was like screaming, yelling, pointing her finger, gritting her teeth. She was a lunatic. The other couple were nice though.
Yeah. Well, and see, if we could keep it to the basics of that, remember, people, the law does not operate by form, but rather by substance. So you don't even have to claim to know God's law, just His word. And
Like
you
that.
don't even have to claim to know how it operates or how to correlate it with other things. You just have to be able to show that, hey, I comprehend that I'm supposed to behave a certain way. And it's
Yeah.
explained in the Bible. I'm not supposed to lie.
Yeah, I don't need your education for behavior. I already have a natural gift.
Yeah, I don't have to have that knowledge of legislated words and have to learn how to unscramble them all so I can quit babbling and quit stuttering. See, with His word, I don't have to worry about babbling and stuttering.
Yeah, that makes you brought clarity to that, because that makes sense. That's why they put you in that associative class of persons, is like
Yeah.
they're saying that these persons don't know how to act. So we're gonna give them man's law so that we can educate them as how to act. So yeah, that's perfect.
Yep. Yeah, so think about this stuff, people. When we're talking explicitly with each other here and there, none of it's true. Yet at the same time, you can take as much of it as being true as you want. By again, I'll use the Lord's Prayer thing. It got two different versions. Read them both. Learn both sides of the track. See, people think there's only one way to do this stuff, and there's not. There's many ways. We can operate within this system. Like I said, it works great. There are many ways to do things. It's a matter of learning how to operate that stuff. And when it comes to doing all this research and trying to find out, throughout the last 4 years, I've had to look at both the positive and negative sides of everything. I've had to look at how the police operate. I don't want to, at first I didn't want to pay attention to how they operate because I just knew it was wrong. I wanted to learn how to fix it. But you got to learn how they operate. And so you can come to the realization they're, like I said, they're born into the cognitive dissonance just like we are. So
Observe the observers.
Exactly. And that's, you use a good word there again. It brings me to the observe, record, and report. That's the basis of knowledge, is being able to look at something, review it, and record it somewhere or act upon it somewhere. And that's part of your recording. You're acting upon it. Life is eternal. Actions speak louder than words. This is what we're passing on to our younger generations, is how to behave. How did he have the things he had? Well, he did this, this, and this. Well, did it work? Well, yeah, he had all this, you know. And in fact, when we come to this commercial system, again, this is why I say the Indian nation didn't have a commercial system, but their value system appraised these chiefs for their actions, their braves for their bravery, their squaws for their skills. They were all appraised. They were all given their value, or their value was recognized. It wasn't given, it was inherent. And their value was recognized. In this system, it has to be recognized on paper. That's not recognized in the eyes of God. He's a respecter of no persons.
That's talked about in the book of Acts. I think it's chapter 8, 9 through 21. With Simon the sorcerer. He wanted to pay for a gift. He wanted to pay for the Holy Spirit so he could get the gift from God. And they told him, well, Peter specifically told him that he hopes his money perishes with him.
Right, because the root of all money is the root of all evil. And so if we want money first without realizing everything's already freely given, we've already stepped out of the realm of what's freely given and put ourselves in debt by asking for something called a debt note. What? Yeah, does that seem logical? No. Do you believe you've been tricked into doing it now? Yeah.
I call it, give me access to my credit, is what I call it.
Yeah. And that's why the law of equity operates on intent. You know, If you go back in time to the origin of everything, would your intent have changed if your knowledge was different? I'd have taken that fucking foot right out of my ass. I might have been confused about whether I need to go to a podiatrist or a proctologist, but I was going to get it out.
You know, would you disagree, Keith, in something? Once you learn and understand intent and faith and divine providence as a whole, that you don't really need to read the maxims of equity. You just kind of know them. And then when you actually read them, you're like, I already knew this. Isn't that how it works a little?
Exactly. That's what I was saying earlier. You know, you just know it.
It's strange how that works because you may have never read it, but it was like, I already kind of knew all that. Yeah.
Jurisprudence.
Mm-hmm.
Part of our essence.
I've always felt like I was a little slow, but I've always, as a child, I thought, you know, I am a child of God, and my aunt, and, you know, just don't do no wrong to others and be nice. You know, I just had that inherent thing about, you know, just don't do wrong to others and so forth. And
compassion.
I tell you, it was really tough for me. You know, I didn't say nothing about God, but that one Zoom we had, I told the people, I said, look, I don't consent to any and all proceedings. I said, I don't have to be an attorney to know what's right or wrong. I said, or what's moral, not moral, but what you all are doing here is not moral. And
make no mistake, they know that.
yeah.
They're so
Yes, they do.
very well aware of it. I've had conversations with them, and because when it's like this, when they realize that you don't fall for their bullshit, they start to be pretty honest with you, to be honest. I mean, the attorney, I had an attorney tell me, he's like, you know, honey, there's the law, and then there's the law underneath. And I don't think you're getting that. Did you like being a little smart ass? Is that what you liked? This is how they talk to me now. It's very revealing.
And if you really think about equity, if a guy is going to come into equity himself in his own life, and this is what I hope one of the expressions in my experience over the last few years is going to show, is that when I first started out, I was heavy after these guys. I wanted them in prison. I want to see them hung. I want to see them tarred and feathered. Today,
is it wrong that I still do?
Well, that's what I'm talking about here. Today, I see that the experience, what I've gotten out of the experience. Somebody asked the other day. I posted my video of the stop from 4 years ago. And he says, well, what was the outcome? And I said, well, I've got a great education now, and I'm going to keep furthering it.
It does for your mind.
And the reason I come to that aspect is that I don't care about their monetary system anymore, because my knowledge will defeat anything they can throw at me in the monetary system anymore. And I'll relate it right directly to their bullshit about throwing the book at you. No thanks, I already got mine.
Knowledge is the receipt.
Yep.
I feel like my riches are in my heart. You know what I'm saying? Not possessions and wealth. I mean, my wealth is, you know, your education and your
Yep.
Yeah, my weakness. I still get so angry. I try to, you know, that wrath. It's difficult sometimes. Like, I do try to contain it, and I'm getting better every day at it, but I'm still struggling with that part a little bit.
Oh yeah, a lot of us are. And like you can see today in this video, I'm not perfect, but at the same time, I opened up some leeway on my expressions here today and got some verbalizations out that I really don't like to portray, but I use them intently because I want to show how passionate I am about this and how truthful I want people to start being. And the only way to do that is by opening up to my own experiences and research. And some of that, like I said, there's going to be times where in my life, because it's a part of my balance, I'm going to get angry and I'm going to get expressive about it. But the more I learn how to control it and when I use it, the better off I am. And today I can feel free to use it in this platform and control it enough. And then, of course, like here, I let you guys know I'm aware of my use of it. And if you go back through my videos, you'll see where I came to the conclusion that I needed to quit that. And I've worked diligently in doing so. My videos have constantly cleaned up for a while now. And
but there are still going to be times where I'm going to specifically use it as a matter of respect only. But if I ever end up in court, I'm not going to use it in court. I'm going to use the love of God, unconditional. I'm going to forgive them for not knowing what I know.
I'm gonna struggle with that. I'm sorry. I'm trying real hard because I feel like not only do they know what I know, but they know more. So, to say that my guy on the street does not know what he does, what he's doing, I agree with you. But when we're in a courtroom, I'm very upset that I feel that they know what they're doing. That's different. When there's that, that's the intent we're talking about.
Can I help you, Keith?
Sure.
You're trying to be in
go ahead.
No, sorry.
One of the things we need to remember is this system was set up before any of us was born, and we all woke up on different sides of it. And you have to defend a position. If you're on the other side from you, that person may, or the man or woman, may have a threat on their lives and their children. They may have a threat on their way of life. They may have certain rules that they can obey by the butt sitting in the chair that has duties. So when you're getting angry, if you calm it down and try to lose it, and it's hard because I've been there before, when you lose the anger, you can see clearer and you can see that they're trying to help you. So it's okay to have the anger because that's part of the process of waking up. But you will get to a point where you're not angry anymore and you really lose it, and you say this to yourself, or I have said this to myself. I'm the one that's been making all the mistakes because I didn't have the knowledge. I've been causing controversy in the system because I've been active in the system without the knowledge. I owe the apology. I need to be respectful. Start putting it on yourself first. Love thy neighbor as yourself. Another way to look at it is, what did I do wrong first? Sometimes you may not see it. Sometimes you may not have done it. But when you go into that court with that attitude and that mental way of being, sometimes you can see that the judge is trying to help you and giving you hints along the way. But there's only so much they can say because their butt sits in a seat, and that seat has duties. So when you look at it that way, you as a mom or a dad have to get onto your kid and they're doing something funny, but it's wrong, and you're trying hard not to laugh. But in the same sense, you have to get onto them. The diapers need to, the judges need to change your diapers. That's kind of what I say. We need our diapers changed until we can grow up and be a man or woman. So that's a way to also look at it and think about it for a while, and it kind of helps the anger out a little bit. What did I do wrong? Am I that 2-year-old that we're getting in trouble?
Very kind of you. If I could just punch a couple of them in the face, I will be.
And they're 2-year-old.
Keith is laughing because Keith knows street justice. That's what happens. You get into a controversy, you beat each other up until you can't swing anymore. But then what happens afterwards? You shake hands and you're friends.
Okay, boys, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
But if you're grown up and but if you're grown up and sophisticated, you do it with words.
I know. I'm trying.
Correct.
I'm trying.
So you got to remember, when you're in that court, are you the 2-year-old or is the judge the 2-year-old?
It's me. I'm not denying it.
Right. So
I will not deny my shortcomings. They're there. I'm working on them every day.
Well, Trey, I can see you going in the future here and exponentially progressing forward in the fact that once you realize getting rid of that anger and stuff allows for that intuitive foresight to come in even further. It just enhances it. It's that creation of balance. Getting rid of that anger and that distraction from your actual intuition and ability to see into what is actually wrong. Quit letting that emotion, anger, get to you so you can see deeper into it. It's
and I'm going to say, Keith,
I admire you guys for being able to do that. I really do.
Keith, there's something really important. The one thing that's really important in court, and it's the hardest for any of us to even get this, is the importance of an apology. An apology is kind of like cleaning up the slate. Even though your kid was doing something, you were laughing, whatever, they were doing something to be funny, but it was bad, they still have to apologize to you, and they have no idea why. When you
Yeah.
apologize to that judge because there's more of a controversy and it's getting real nasty and ugly, and you rearranged how you look at the situation, go in and
Yeah.
apologize to that judge with a clean heart and clean your hands off. That apology is your soap in court.
Yeah.
It's your soap.
No.
All it is.
Yeah, and that's
Oh, God, that's the most horrible thought I've ever heard in my life.
But kids say it's the age of the coronavirus. You need your soap. Clean your hands off.
Oh,
Say
Lord,
your
you are a
apologies
better
and go
woman
back.
than I.
Lori,
No,
I love
not
the way
That
together.
bitch in an alley outside.
Okay.
Turn off the camera.
Think about it this way too.
Okay, Odin,
Lori, I
go
love
ahead.
the way you chastise.
When you're reminding yourself of your anger and how you need to stay honorable and not create more controversy, you're also re-accepting your oath to God for value in that moment too.
Exactly. Revenge is upon him.
I know it. I know you're right. I do. I do know you're right. I really don't act that way in court anymore. Or anymore, that's right.
Me
I don't
either,
act
sister.
that way in court anymore. But it's still in my heart and it's still in my head. And I don't know how to fix that exactly. I do try. But
Hey,
it's
doing
real hard.
Start doing some videos and cussing and swearing at them on videos. Have them watch your videos.
Pray. Pray
Yeah.
and think
Because they
about
still
what I just
watch me.
told you.
They still watch me, folks. Hi, but they know I operate. They know I'm living in peace now, and I'm not coming after them. I just want them to learn just like everybody else.
You know, I literally had fantasies in my head that I wish I could get the coronavirus before court. Excuse me, officer, could you give me directions? Oh, here, let me get that off here.
Yeah, just start coughing. Just start coughing when you roll down.
Literally have fantasies like this.
Just start
What was
coughing
that?
when you roll down the window.
It was in my mind the whole time. I'm not gonna lie. And then even afterwards, like today, it was sitting there thinking about things. And I'm like, if I could just get it, it would be the first thing I'd do. I'd go to every courthouse in my neighborhood.
Mike,
Court watcher here. It's horrible, but I can't help it. It gets in there, you know. You can't stop it. I'll get there though. Work in progress.
All right. Well, hey guys. It's 8:30. I planned on a 2-hour meeting here. We've accessed that. It was great to have everybody. Thanks for all the input, and we will be doing this again. I think this is a better format where we can come together and convey those ideas to and back and forth each other so that we can get better correlation and find those little tiny keys that one or another may be missing. This is an important format to be able to pass on that legacy, because like I said, it's not a matter of just passing this stuff on to our children, our heirs and our heirs. It's a gathering. It's the congregation of that knowledge so that we can grow it in prosperity and abundance. So I did put a link in there. Sorry, actually 2 links. Sorry they came in together, but there's 2 links there, one from my PayPal on the top, and then I just started a fundraiser to try to get some scanning and printing equipment so that I can do my own documents. And then from that point on, I can start affecting my research better in helping others through counseling and one-on-one conversations, helping them draft their own documents, scanning things for them, and providing proofs and evidence from any source such as congressional records, state records, getting things authenticated, and realize that once we learn how to express our trust, the trust is a matter of property rights, and that is possession and use. And so when we get attacked by these people that are presenting these statutes, grab that statute, get a copy of that sucker, authenticate it, transfer it into your private express trust as property of the trust. And now it is evidence. Which one holds the equity? The statute, which is the indenture to equity. The statute has an indenture to equity, and it's tied up through your Constitution, your state Constitution and your federal Constitution, which both mention posterity, which is synonymous with legacy. So please remember this stuff, and we'll gather again. In the meantime, God bless everybody. Hit that PayPal link or send some monies in the
Thank you, Keith.
I was just saying my
Oh.
my PayPal got shut down after I paid my bankruptcy with the trust funds. And I tried to get it reinstated and they won't.
Yeah, PayPal's funny like that, ain't they?
They took the money. Okay, so bankruptcy court, the trustee, they took the money. They never bothered me again. But PayPal won't let me get my account back since then.
Well, yeah, because that's their property. That was part of the bankruptcy. That needed to be transferred into a different non-interest bearing account.
You have an alternative.
Oh, so they're mad at me then.
Google and Yahoo, right?
Well, did you
what?
have only PayPal, or is there? Can I use credit card and PayPal? I don't know how to do
Google
this.
Pay, Yahoo Pay.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
you
I'm
go
a
through-
technology idiot when it comes to the PayPal stuff.
Well, check with David there. He'll be able to help you on that. Please,
Okay.
David. He just mentioned Yahoo Pay. You can go through Yahoo Pay, where we just transfer through emails, and I can just dump an email.
Oh, it's
into
from email? All right,
Yeah,
that's
that's,
easier if it works. Cool.
It ain't me, David.
Also, your printer, the printer you were talking about, I have one in the trunk of my car that's been sitting there, I don't know, about a year. I don't use it. I do believe it has a scanner. It's brand spanking new, box never been opened. So shoot me your address so you can have it. I like I said, it's been in my trunk of my car for like a year. I don't think that will hurt it.
Hey, I can start out and try it.
Yeah, but it's brand
Just depends.
spanking new.
Electronic equipment being out in the weather, it's kind of iffy. But if it works, it works. So yeah,
Right. Yeah,
I'll send
never
you an
been
address
opened.
to send that to.
Give it a try. If it doesn't work, I'm sorry in advance.
Hey, no apologies needed. Your efforts are worth it. Your efforts have value. So,
All right, good.
all right. In the meantime, again, thanks everybody for joining me tonight. I hope I was able to detail some things out and give you a bit more clarity on things,
Thanks.
and we'll discuss things more.
Thank you. Well done.
Thank
bet.
you.
Thanks, brother. God
Bye.
bless. And be sure to share.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Keith, man.
You bet.
Appreciate all you do.
You bet, Russell. Thanks again, Lori and Trey, Albert, everybody.
This
Tim.
mug for you.
All right. I'm out. Peace. Love you. Have a great night, guys.
Reedy.
Take it easy, brother.
Reedy.